So, I received a lot of questions in the trailer comments of my upcoming game Hypernet Explorer. Like, can I get pregnant? Can I go to space? Are you seriously making this thing with RPG Maker? Well, I'm pregnant and I'm in space. And yes, the whole thing ran in good old RPG Maker, so I think it answers all the three questions. So, what is this game even about? Hypernet Explorer is a roguelike RPG with heavy focus on simulation and systemic gameplay. My objective is to create a story simulator where stories and interesting moments emerge from the interaction of countless mechanics and subsystems, from weather and economy to cloth wetness simulation. Let me make a basic example of systems are interconnected. Based on local weather data of the country you are in, the weather system calculates if it should be rain and its intensity. Based on intensity, puddles can spawn around the map, and if the player steps in them, the equipment system will determine if its feet are now wet, based on the material of the shoe. Now, if the player is wet, will get extra damage from electrical and ice-based attacks, but can die itself if hit with a fire attack or by just using a towel. And remember, a towel is just about the most massively useful thing an interstellar hitchhiker can carry. What is the player objective? Who is the player in the first place? You, my friends, are just a bag of meat containing various useful organs, each one tracked and simulated according to your biology. If you play as a mod person, you will have a vastly different experience as playing as a baseline human, since now you will be attracted to lights when playing at night. Everything inside your body can be augmented, enchanted or replaced. You can also install body parts from other species to get their abilities, either by visiting a surgeon or doing the surgery yourself if you have the skill and guts. The other two things that defines you are classes and traits. Classes range from classic fantasy one like witch, knight, necromancer and paladin to modern jobs like scientist, journalist, CEO and firefighter. There are 64 classes and at the end of the development cycle I want each one of them to have a particular unique gimmick. Traits can be used to further customize your character and gameplay. If you are claustrophobic, you will probably get a panic attack down the line while exploring the main dungeon. And if you select a wealthy trait, you will start as the selected 1%, have millions of euros in your bank account, and probably get an invitation to Little Sanjay Island. Like in real life, the wealthy trait is just overpowered. Why grind for materials when you can just pay people to do it for you? Since game start, you are free to go anywhere in the world and just live the life you want. Here's some examples. You can form a party and explore dungeons. Well, this is the base gameplay loop. You can be a landowner, explore the real estate system, and squeeze your tenant of every hero. You can be a mercenary for the various factions armies, join them and rank up until you become their leader, and then the game becomes a Paradox-style expand and conquer game. You can have a farm and just chill with your animals. Why not open a pizza shop with a pizza making minigame? With Hypernet Touches and a computer, you can complete the main quest without ever leaving your room, just for the food for survival. You can live as a hermit in a forsaken cave and just focus on your spiritual side, or form a sect focused on world leader assassinations. The game will have simulated politics at various levels, from local elections to the United Nations headquarters, where with the right connection and skills you can work as a diplomat. In this world, international right actually matters and is enforced by magical bindings. So let's talk more about the world and its setting. It's very easy to just write hot garbage when mixing fantasy with a modern setting. So I'm not taking inspiration from Bright, but more like the Iron Dragon Daughter. The timeline of this world is exactly like ours until the U2K event, with some key differences. Magic exists since time immemorial, but its existence was known only by a few select. It was revealed to the general public when Margaret Thatcher used a spell to sink the Argentinian fleet during the Falkland War. The Ottoman Empire never dissolved. Pope Giovanni Paolo II was actually killed during his assassination attempt and was replaced with Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who was declared himself Pope Emperor of the Holy Vatican Empire. Goblins are an offshoot of the homogeneous. They lived for millions of years underground in a huge cave system until it was breached by the Soviets when drilling the Kola super deep borehole. And now the Green Horde is swallowing the Northern Europe and started worshipping Mayhem Band as their gods. Not in this timeline, Euronymous never died. The U2K event, known also as the Millennium Bug, in this timeline fried most of technology, set off most of the stored nuclear arsenal, killing billions of people, and caused the envisaged satellite to lose control and crash into another satellite, who crashed into another satellite, who crashed in another satellite, triggering a chain reaction known as Kessler syndrome. Space exploration now is generally unadvised, since the higher risk of being turned into mincemeat by orbiting fragments. But it's not impossible. The game has a system to make procedural planets, stars and galaxies, and there are trillions of them, and all of them will be explorable on game launch. In contrast to No Man's Sky, most of the planet you will visit will be just empty and dead, just like real life. So planets with actual life will be extremely rare. Space stuff is endgame content designed for players who already finished the stuff back on Earth and will be expanded later in this game development cycle. Like the planet biome generator is already there, but for now just use Earth biomes data, and if you try to land on Mars you will get a peyote desert. Now back on Earth. After the U2K event, society has embraced the magical accelerationism and started rebuilding itself with magic. Spells cannot bring the death back if vaporized by an atomic blast, but helped to clean up all the nuclear fallout and mended the broken technology. It's not just that your Nokia breaker can now call the afterlife. Magic is now so much embedded in electronics that acts as an invisible hand that makes everything work together behind the scenes and make every technological object have a sort of sentience or hive mind, if you will. Also, money is magical. Names are power, and the name of Mario Draghi is printed in every euro bill. This caused Mario Draghi to ascend to godhood and now govern the financial fluxes. RPG Maker is a very underrated piece of software as is nostalgic to me. I started using it when I was 12 years old, and since then I tried to make my dream game with every existing game engine, from Godot, Unity to Unreal Engine, but I always come back to RPG Maker, who can now be supercharged and turned into something completely else by the sheer power of JavaScript. Every game system its own custom plugins that overrides game functions and let me make, well, anything I can imagine. Many plugins are focused on procedural generation, like this one to generate random book titles and descriptions, or this complex set of plugins that generates the various procedural maps. Fun fact, the universe generation system, like you can imagine, It's the most complex code I have. It's split into 10 plugins with different renders for various planetary bodies. When I define anything in the RPG Maker database, like a map, a new enemy, a spell, or a piece of equipment, I put there tags that contains metadata that the various plugins then use to simulate the object. For example, I have crafting recipes for items, categories for spell and skills to get them sorted in the various menus, animation frame data for weapons, number of bullets per magazine for ranged weapons, biomes for maps. The game world uses a mix of handcrafted and procedural maps. Every tile of the world map is its own submap that gets built according to biome and geography. It's not limited to the overworld but also put cave system and you can even explore the bottom of the ocean. Around the world map are scattered landmarks, dungeons, cities that are handcrafted, and I plan to make a 2D replica of some interesting spots around the world. This big ass tower is the Omega Tower. It's the main dungeon of the game and is composed of 92 floors. Originally the game was limited to just this tower, but it quickly fell out of hands and I decided to put also the entire observable universe. The tower is split into different set of floors of increasing difficulty, and its general layout is randomized between each save game. There can be treasure rooms and paths that are completely not existent for other players, so the game will require multiple runs to be able to see everything. When you reach a floor, it becomes unlocked in the elevator, and you can reach it without having to ascend all the previous floor again. Each floor has its own dimension, so you can have like a beach floor, take the stair and find yourself into an endless IKEA. The billion euros question, when the game releases? Well, I started working on this last April, and it will take at least 2 years of additional development to reach a point where I can put it on Steam Early Access without feeling ashamed. Once in early access, it will take another 3 to 4 years to reach full maturity, and after that I plan to update it afterwards with yearly thematic free updates. In future devlogs I will focus on single mechanics like of the procedural terrains works and just show offs interesting stuff I made. Make sure to wishlist the game on Steam and follow me on each where you can get the updates about the game.